Numenor, Westerness, and Adune. I recently looked at Mordor, fully exploring those lands, so today I thought it would be good to have a bit of a contrast and have a look at the island of Numenor. So come and join me.
Build me an army worthy of Mordor.
Numenor is often heralded as the jewel in the crown that is Middle-earth. It stands as a symbol of human potential, ambition, and the tragedy of men. It is located in the Great Sea to the west of the lands of Middle-earth, and it is here where we see the Island Kingdom's tale, where it's not just full of splendour and glory, but there are many dark things that happened as well. So join me as I explore the geography, the history, and the cultural significance that the lands of Numenor left on not just Middle-earth, but our real world as well. Numenor, also known as Westerness, was a gift to the Edain by the Valar. This extraordinary island was not just a reward for the valour of men in their alliance with the elves during the War of Wrath against Morgoth, but also a symbol of hope and a testament to the possibility of harmony between races of Middle-earth. Imagine a land blessed with extraordinary longevity, wisdom, and strength akin to the flourishing civilizations of ancient Greece or Atlantis in our own world's mythologies. In Tolkien's lore, Numenor is comparable in its cultural and technological advancements to these legendary civilizations. Numenor, the fabled land of Middle-earth, was a marvel of geography and natural beauty. It was pulled from the sea as a star-shaped landmass and measured roughly 250 miles across and 170 miles from top to bottom. But because of its shape, the square mileage might be a little bit harder to guess. If it was square, you could say it's 42,500 square miles or 110,000 square kilometers. However, because of its shape, this makes it a little bit more complicated. So we could perhaps guess it covers around 75% of the square area, meaning it's around 32,000 square miles or 83,000 square kilometers. And this all means that it is roughly the same size as Austria as a country or South Carolina as a state in the US. So really, all of this means for Mordor versus Numenor, we would need Sweden versus Austria or California versus South Carolina. But now, back to Numenor's geography. Its heart was the majestic mountain Meneltarma, or Pillar of the Heavens, a sacred peak central to the Numenorian spiritual life. For the most part, the Numenorians dwelt in the plains and by the shores of the sea, but some few of them, lovers of the hills, had their homes in the west of the island and dwelt in peace, far from the deeds of their kings, either at the feet of the mountain Meneltarma, tallest of all the hills upon earth, or upon the highlands of the west, upon which the star of Elendil was set. The landscape of Numenor was as diverse as it was breathtaking. The western region, Andustar, was lush and green, reminiscent of the untamed coastal regions of ancient Britain or Ireland, and was home to the enchanting haven of Eldar. The central plains, notably the region of Arendor, were fertile lands cultivated extensively, where the capital city Armenelos stood proudly near Meneltarma. This central peak, a symbol of the Numenorians' initial humility and reverence, was untouched by any temple or structure, reserved only for the most sacred ceremonies. Orostar, the eastern region, was temperate and forested, a stark contrast to Forostar, the rugged and rocky northern area. Meanwhile, the southern Hjarostar was warmer, known for its lush orchards and gardens, evoking images of the bountiful Mediterranean landscapes. And finally, there is also Hjarnustar, the southern western region of Numenor. This area was renowned for its vineyards and fertile lands, transitioning into mountainous terrain in the far southwest. Its southern shores that led to Hjarostar boasted wide white beaches and grey shingles, offering a tranquil contrast to the verdant, cultivated fields. This area exemplified Numenor's agricultural richness and scenic diversity, reminiscent of southern Europe's prosperous rural landscapes. But coming back one more time to Meneltarma itself, the silent guardian at the island's heart, this symbolised the bridge between the mortal lands of Middle-earth and the undying lands of Aman. It was more than just a geographical feature, it was a testament to the Numenorians' connection with the divine, a connection that waned as their pride grew, foreshadowing their tragic downfall. The strategic position of Numenor in the Great Sea turned it into a hub of exploration and naval prowess. The Numenorians, unmatched in their seafaring skills, reached out from the Bay of Ravenna, their primary harbour on the eastern coast, to far-flung lands. This bay, comparable in the historic ports like Alexandria, was a bustling centre of trade, culture and maritime innovation. Numenor's geography thus was not just a backdrop to its history, it was integral to its identity, shaping its culture, spirituality and eventual fate. The island, with its varied climates from the temperate heartlands to the tropical outer regions and its diverse landscape, mirrored the journey of its people, from humble beginnings to great heights, and ultimately to a tragic end. The history of Numenor is a tale of ascendancy and enlightenment, encapsulating a time where wisdom and justice were not just ideals, they were realities. Born from the sea as a gift to those who opposed the Dark Lord Morgoth, Numenor's rise to prominence was as rapid as it was remarkable. In its early years, the Númenóreans lived in harmony with nature and the Valar, honouring the prohibition against sailing westward to a man. This initial period was an age of innocence and learning, where the Númenóreans, blessed with long lives, dedicated themselves to the pursuit of knowledge, arts and crafts, drawing inspiration from their interactions with the elves. The Golden Age of Numenor was a pinnacle of cultural and political achievement. The island nation flourished under the rule of wise and just kings, setting a standard in governance and societal well-being. This was a time when Numenor's influence extended far beyond its shores, not as a conqueror but as a benefactor. Númenóreans aided men and elves in their struggles against the growing shadow of evil, particularly against the menacing rise of Sauron. Their capital, Armenelos, was a marvel of architecture and a beacon of their cultural zenith. Here stood the Tower of Tar Minister, among other magnificent structures, embodying the architectural brilliance and artistic passion of that time. The Númenóreans, revered across Middle-earth for their wisdom, fairness and power, were seen as a beacon of light in an often dark world. Their ships, symbols of their unchallenged naval prowess, sailed across the seas, reaching distant lands. This era of exploration and expansion mirrored the historical colonial expansions of European powers. With their long-lived kings and enlightened governance, Númenor's influence was both profound and benevolent. Culturally, Numenor was a melting pot of elvish wisdom and human innovation. Libraries and academies flourished, and their language, a blend of elvish and their unique tongue, reflected their deep respect for elvish culture. In architecture, they built not only grand palaces, but also harmonious public spaces, emphasizing their belief in community and shared knowledge. However, with time this golden era saw a gradual shift. The simple lives of agriculture and craftsmanship slowly gave way to a growing ambition and pride. The Númenóreans' reach extended not only in the realm of aid and friendship, but also in establishing colonies and strongholds in far-off lands. This expansion was a double-edged sword. It brought Numenor immense wealth and power, but it also planted the seeds of arrogance and discontent, foreshadowing the eventual decline of this once great civilization. The story of Numenor is therefore not just a narrative of the rise, but also a cautionary tale of how the mightiest of civilizations can falter when they lose sight of their foundational values. The Golden Age of Numenor remains a testament to what can be achieved when wisdom and justice prevail, serving as a poignant reminder of the impermanence of glory and the inevitable consequences of hubris. The story of Numenor's rise will obviously hit a peak, and now we look at its downfall. It is a tragic saga of pride, envy, and the relentless pursuit of forbidden immortality. It echoes the tales of Atlantis and the Tower of Babel, where human hubris invites divine intervention, and not in a good way. Initially a civilization of unparalleled wisdom and prosperity, Numenor's fate took such a dark turn when greed and fear of death really crept into the hearts of their people. Central to Numenor's tragic narrative was the Ban of the Valar, a divine prohibition that forbade the Númenóreans from sailing west beyond the point where their islands ceased to be visible, ensuring they would not reach or disturb the Undying Lands. This descent began with a growing envy of the elves' immortality and a deep resentment towards this ban, prohibiting them from again sailing to a man. This resentment festered over time, leading the Númenóreans away from their former virtues and towards the worship of darkness. Under the corrupting influence of Sauron, who was taken as a prisoner to Numenor but managed to rise to an influential advisor to the king, meant that the Númenóreans' admiration for life and wisdom was replaced by dread of death and a desperate craving for eternal life. Sauron, exploiting their fears and desires, cunningly turned the Númenóreans against the Valar and the Elves. They began to oppress other men, extending their rule with an iron fist rather than an open hand of friendship that had once been their hallmark. Internal division grew as the shadow over their hearts deepened. Political dissent and moral decay set in, with many abandoning the old ways of wisdom and humility for power and dominion, thus setting the stage for their ultimate demise. The society split into two factions: the faithful, who adhered to the traditional ways of honouring the Valar and the Elves, and then the King's men, who, under Sauron's influence, sought greater power and dominion, leading to an era of strife and conflict within Númenor. As their moral compass faltered, the Númenóreans fell deeper into the worship of Melkor, the dark enemy of the world. The climax of this tragic tale came under the reign of Ar-Pharazôn, the last king of Númenor, whose pride and arrogance knew no bounds. Defying the ban of the Valar, he mounted a great fleet to sail to a man, intending to challenge the Valar themselves and claim immortality. This act of direct defiance against the Divine Order triggered a cataclysmic downfall of Númenor. Eru Ilúvatar, the creator, intervened in a dramatic and irreversible manner, sinking the island kingdom beneath the waves in a cataclysm reminiscent of the most profound mythic tragedies of human history. Númenor was lost, and with it, much of its glory, wisdom, and knowledge vanished beneath the sea. Only the likes of Elendil and his sons Isildur and Anarion, the ones who remained faithful to the Valar, survived this catastrophe. Fleeing to Middle-earth with remnants of their people, they laid the foundations for the lineages of the Dúnedain and the kingdoms of Arnor and Gondor. The fall of Númenor thus marked not only an end to a once great civilization, but also the beginning of a new chapter in the history of Middle-earth, one that would have lasting repercussions for centuries to come. The legacy of Númenor resonates deeply throughout Tolkien's Legendarium, casting a long shadow over the histories of Middle-earth. Its downfall, a cataclysmic event that reshaped the world's geography and its destiny, became a defining moment for Middle-earth's second and third ages. The survivors of Númenor, under the leadership of Elendil and his sons Isildur and Anarion, emerged as pivotal figures in the epic struggles that followed, particularly in the War of the Last Alliance against Sauron. The influence of Númenor extended beyond the martial and political realms. The memory of Númenor, imbued with tales of its might, wisdom, and tragic fall, lingered in the legends and lore of Middle-earth, shaping the cultural consciousness of its various peoples. This memory served as a solemn reminder of the perils of hubris and the inevitable consequences of defying the natural order. The story of Númenor encapsulates a timeless narrative of pride and humility, power and responsibility, and the ephemeral nature of all earthly achievements. Moreover, the lineage of the Númenóreans, particularly through the line of Elendil, profoundly impacted the unfolding events in the Third Age of Middle-earth. This lineage gave rise to the significant characters like Aragorn, whose heritage can be traced back to the Island Kingdom. The seeds of Númenor's legacy deeply influenced the events of The Lord of the Rings, setting the stage for the epic battles and the quest to destroy the One Ring, a remnant of Númenor's tumultuous past. The kingdoms of Gondor and Arnor, established by Númenor's survivors, became central to the geopolitical landscape of Middle-earth, especially during critical events like the War of the Ring again. The legacy of Númenor also manifested in its cultural, architectural, and maritime achievements, which were integrated into these new realms. The skills, knowledge, and traditions of the Númenóreans influenced the development of these kingdoms, from their governance to their art and architecture. The enduring presence of Númenorian ruins, their language, and their customs in places like Gondor served as tangible links to the island's glorious past. In essence, the legacy of Númenor is a complex tapestry woven into the very fabric of Middle-earth's history. Its story, marked by grandeur and tragedy, serves as a powerful narrative about the rise and fall of civilizations and the enduring impact of their legacies. It underscores the themes of morality, the relentless passage of time, and the importance of wisdom and humility in the face of power and ambition. Through Númenor, Tolkien explores the quintessential human struggles and the perpetual cycle of history, where each end is but a prelude to a new beginning. So there we have it, the story of Númenor, a blend of grandeur and tragedy. It really epitomizes how the danger of unchecked ambition can be a dangerous thing. It mirrors the ascents and downfalls of many great civilizations, fictional or real, and reminds us of the fleeting nature of power and the need for wisdom. Numenor's rise and fall, from its peak to its submersion beneath the waves, serves as an allegory, sorry Tolkien, for human pride and the quest for eternal life. Through this tale, Tolkien prompts us to take a look at ourselves, to reflect on our values and the consequences of our actions. So at the end of the day, in Numenor's legacy, we find lessons that are as relevant and thought-provoking today as they were back then in Tolkien's time. And with that now, it is time for my question of the day, which is, how do you think the story of Numenor reflects our own world and its history? Please leave your thoughts and opinions on this in the comment section down below. And now it is time to give a massive thank you to our patrons who continue to support the channel. You are all amazing. And if you have reached the very end of this video with me today and you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. It would massively help us out. And why not drop a like on the video as well? And with that, all I can say is, thank you for spending just some of your time with me today, and I will see you next time on The Broken Sword.